Hello there and welcome to Racehorse Movies, the show where two film fans take a racing sheet from last week, pick a random horse name for each other, and from that name pitch a movie. In the pitch, to flesh out our movie ideas, we may include such things as stars, directors, composers, best boys, and stable boys. Maybe not that last one. Hoping none of our ideas have to be put behind a screen and shot. The sky's the limit, the horses are on the starting line, the jockeys are frothing. It's time for Racehorse Movies.
Hello there, welcome to this week's edition of Racehorse Movies. I was going to do a Richard Herring style intro from his podcast. Do you ever listen to Richard Herring's podcast?
I do, Rahelistipa, yes indeed.
Yeah, Rahelistipa. He's like, hello, my fine friends. My finest of friends. Or a Buxton. Buxton's like, hey, podcats.
Yeah, we need to get some kind of a greeting.
Yeah, we do need to get a greeting. Anyway, welcome to this week's episode of Racehorse Movies. My name is Graham Thomas, and I'm joined by my very good friend, Luke Searle.
Hello there, thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Well, thank you for being my co-host.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
I don't have a deep bench when it comes to booking talent, so you're co-host.
We don't need to publicly air that.
No, we don't. That's true. What have we got lined up today?
We've got a couple of pitches coming in from a couple of horse names that were revealed on the podcast last week, so I'm very excited about that. And we've also got a couple of alternate pitches from either of us for the horse names that we gave each other in the sealed envelope. And I think we've got a little look-see about some things that we may have watched, played, listened to, done, and a little check-in with ourselves.
Yeah, I think we do. So without further ado, well, there's a bit of ado further before we get into the horses that we will race. How have you been? Have you been up to anything lately?
I have not been up to a busting lot, man. It's been quite relaxed. Well, yeah, no, I know. I haven't got that Richard Herring energy. No, I've been trying to get through a few films, actually, man. The first month of the year was a bit of a lost month, as they tend to be after all the excitement of Christmas and whatnot. So back in the game now and trying to get a few films watched. Granted, one of those films was from 1976, so it's been on the list a while. But
what was his Vanishing Point?
No, it was The Omen, actually, man.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I'd never seen it before.
Really? It's nice to tick off those classics that everyone assumes you have seen, but secretly you haven't.
And the classics that are assumed classics, and you're always like, well, everyone says it's classic, so it's a classic, and that's the only reason it's a classic. And then you watch it, and I was like, oh, no, this is kind of a bit of a classic.
It's amazing. It's nice to realise that, 30-odd years of film criticism and thousands of articles, and that they were actually right. You probably should have just listened to them and watched it years ago.
Yeah, but I always thought it was a punchline. Well, no, it's always been presented to me as a punchline, in fact, actually. It's an evil kid, so do the Omen music and have some chorus in the background. Are
you going to do the others? I think it's 5 of them. I think 4 or 5.
I am very tempted. 3's got Sam Neill in.
3's the famous one.
Is that famous good or famous bad?
I think 2's terrible, 3's good. I'm sure people are going to get on the comments section and rinse us for this. 3's the one that's got a very, very famous moment. I'm not going to spoil it for you. A very famous, shocking moment that happens in a hospital, and it's up there in classic scenes in all film, in all cinema. So good. I think that's the 3rd one. So if you do get to watch that, you're in for a treat.
I'm tempted because as much as I like how extremely good The Omen was, how wonderfully manly Gregory Peck is, by the way, I could die in his arms. As he there are many points in which he strokes his wife's hair, comforts her, and kisses her forehead, and I legitimately swooned in my seat. He's such a classic, man. It's insane. But yeah, as much as I enjoyed the first one legitimately, I'd be very interested. I don't mind if the first of a horror in the horror movie canon of whatever horror movies it may be is a very serious film, and then after that it just gets all silly and 80s and all overblown and stuff. I can still enjoy horror quite exactly like Psycho.
So you're going to go on a bit of a run, or are you switching off now and going to different movies?
I won't. I've already watched other films after that, so I've already cracked through Megan and The Woman King and A Man Called Ove, so I'm all over the place as movies go.
Okay. Not the original, not the remake.
Yes, yeah, I watched the original, and It was really good, and at the same time, I was kind of like watching what I thought the American one would be doing, all of the emotional turns of the original,
Because I kind of like a ghost car in Gran Turismo. It's just like overlapped the film.
It's just crashing into the bins on the side and things like that. And I could see it being quite an obvious vehicle for Tom Hanks, but in a really bad way, kind of a thing. But I haven't seen that. I shan't criticise that. And the original's really worth a watch. It was very, very touching, man. It was very sweetly presented, with enough darkness running through it to sell the lightness, I think.
Nice. I'll check that out. On the opposite end of this film spectrum from you, I have been busting through movies this year. I discovered... I've been using an app, and we're not sponsored by this app, but it is really good, called Letterboxd. Do you use Letterboxd?
I don't, but I've heard of it, man.
Oh, yeah. So I've been using Letterboxd. Basically, it's an app whereby you can log the films that you've watched, you can rate them, and you can create watch lists and follow your mates. And it's a nice way to diarize all the things that you've been watching. So I've been doing that, which has been good fun. And it's nice to be accountable so that I always tend to get halfway through the year and realize that I've spent most of the year just watching the Avengers or something. Yeah. So when you can see it written down, or, oh my God, I've seen this 4 times this year, it's time for something else. So far this year, I've watched 70 movies.
Do you think that being on Letterboxd and being more accountable for it has made you watch more as well, man? Do you think it encourages that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it doesn't do TV, which is a shame. Yet. I'm sure they'll do an update at some point. But yeah, it has made me a lot more... hold myself accountable to the things that I am watching. And
Okay, I will have a look at that. That sounds absolutely up my alley.
All right. Well, that's how I've been spending my time. Oh, I went to Bucharest as well for the weekend.
I was going to say, how was your journey, man?
It's a nice little weekend run in Bucharest, which is a really cool city. Lovely people, great food, great beer. Went to the State Opera, which is very cool. Tuxed out, yes. I saw La Bohème. It's an opera. And going to the State Opera in those kind of countries I quite like, even though I've only done it 3 times, because you really do feel like you're in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I spent half the time looking at the boxes, seeing if there's like snipers.
A rifle barrel.
A rifle barrel, exactly.
Yeah. Can I come with you next time wearing a very highly cut dress, red dress? Yeah, that would be fantastic, man. Just so I can put my legs on things while I'm aiming that sniper rifle in the boxes. I'm sure there's lots of heistable things within a State Opera house. We just need to pick which one.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be easy. If it's anything like in Bucharest, we got there, got into the venue, had drinks, got to our seats, saw the whole thing, had drinks, the interview, saw the second part, left. Not a single person checked our ticket or even asked for our ticket. We just walked in.
They are asking for a Mission Impossible.
They are asking for a Mission Impossible
stunt to occur there, man.
Or just either that, or Mission Impossible stunt really requires security to get past. There's no security.
That's Mission Possible. Yeah,
that's Mission Possible. Right. It's Mission Riot, I think. Yeah. Really. Pile in, get what you want, chip off.
Oh, mate, I'm so glad it was good, man. And
it was really
got back Monday, I assume.
Yes, that's right. And straight into it. So given that, I should warn you and listeners that particularly my pitch today might not be as finessed as it might or should be. So there might be a bit of a wing and a prayer going on when I pitch it, but it's still good. It's complete. But it might be like your mum telling a joke where halfway through she goes, "Oh yeah, I forgot to say the teacher was also there." You know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine because mine will be delivered in exactly the same spirit, I think.
So if I just cut all this out, no one will know. We'll just think that this is how we do it.
Well, yeah, because we're going to obviously it will completely flow from us the second that we start.
Exactly. Our disgusting public are none the wiser, right?
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's the thing. It's all none of it's real until we decide it's real, man. It's like the power is insane.
It's like we're creating the Matrix whilst we're plugged into the Matrix.
Yeah, I got one in my back and one in my front, man.
Exactly. It's a Matrix treadmill. Okay, shall we get going?
Yeah, why not?
Do you want to pitch some movies? All right, let's pitch some movies based on racehorses. It's time. Okay, here we go. The racehorses we have chosen, or we chose for each other, was from the 220 Dundalk in Ireland on the 15th of February 2023. There were, how many runners? 14 runners in this one. And I gave you Alfarida.
You certainly did.
And what did you give me?
I would love to know. It was Maid. I know it began with Maid.
Have you forgotten?
I slightly forgot.
Brilliant. I mean, it's been a long week, isn't it? It's called Maid To Shine.
There we go, Maid To Shine.
Maid spelt M-A-I-D.
Yeah, there we go, Maid To Shine.
How did you find Alfarida before we get into it? Was it easy, difficult to piece together?
It was almost too big to attach an idea to when I first heard it. I wasn't sure, but then it started to fall into place and I started to build an idea around it. So we will see how we go with that in the pitch, man. Yeah. How was Maid To Shine?
Maid To Shine was tricky because it's a pun. And it's tricky to do anything serious with a pun, you know?
That's true.
But there's nothing like a deadline, and a deadline whereby you're recording a podcast based on a film called Maid To Shine in 45 minutes to get you to write a film pitch based on a racehorse called Maid To Shine to be recorded in 45 minutes.
Absolutely. That is the ultimate firecracker up the Watsits, man.
It is. So while I pretend to listen to you and finish my pitch,
if I hit one key, get hit by a digit in my pitch, man, I'm walking out.
I'll just mute my mic and then just dictate it through series. What's that? That AI. Is that GT Chat or Chat GT?
Yeah, Chat GT or something it is, yeah. Is that Graham Thomas? Wait a minute. Am I even talking to Graham right now?
Well, a lot of people have in my life claimed that my intelligence was entirely artificial, so it could well be me. All right, then, should we get into this?
Yeah, go on then, man.
All right, let's do this. All right. You can go first this week if you wish, or do you want me to go first?
I'm going to go first so I can see whether you're typing or dictating while I'm talking.
Son of a bitch. All right, go on.
Okay. Alfarida. We give the dead the gifts we can. There we go. Ooh. So Harlem, New York, 1975. Are you with me, Graham?
I'm with you.
Can you see the steaming vents?
Are they like the drifters?
More like the Four Tops, but they were close, man. They were very good. Yeah. Right. Alfarida's only memory of her mother is the night she was killed. And the stranger's voice that carried the words, "We give the dead the gifts we can," to the ears of the terrified 3-year-old Alfarida hidden inside her closet. So we meet her at age 22. She's been adopted by her now dead mother's friend, Deke Merriwell.
Was that bit like a pre-credit sequence, or is that information we don't know yet?
Well, look, we get to the crux of already. I think that is going to be the cold open.
Okay.
And
nice.
and we'll
sets the scene.
And there's going to be a flashback or two in it, but I'm not going to flash back to the footage that you've already seen. That will not occur in this film because that is the thing I despise most. I don't mind a flashback as long as it's not flashing back to something I've already seen in the movie.
Yes. Okay.
So this will not be flashback to. I think we're cold opening on like a very sort of frenetic, horrible, traumatic, spied through the crack in a cupboard kind of scene that befalls her poor mother in what is assumed to be a random break-in. We meet Alfarida properly at age 22. She's been adopted by her mother's closest friend, Deke Merriwell. He's the owner of a local boxing gym, and he loves her the only way he knows how to. Tough, fair, fiercely. The exact same way he loves the boys at the gym. And also his son, Jackie, who works at the gym with him and loves Alfarida as well, like his own blood. They have got a bright, shining beacon amongst the current horrors of Harlem. Heroin is rife. Drugs are all over the streets. The city is not in a good place, but they bring a lot of good to the place they're in. They wanted to protect their communities, give back to their communities, look after their communities where they saw that not occurring in any of the sort of power systems that they previously relied on, man. So they're very, very good-minded men who really do want to do good and help people, man. So that's where we are right now. We're in a pretty good place, surrounded by bad things, but there is so much positivity in the world that she'd been brought up in, considering the world she came from and the horrible trauma she suffered. So Deke, despite being a very close friend of Alfarida's mother, he's not going to tell her anything about her mother. He refuses to talk about it. It's a deep source of pain for him, quite clearly. And the only thing he'll say is, "She was good, Freddie. Too damn good for this world." And then he clams up. He's not the kind of guy that you can get that kind of raw emotion out of, man. You know what he's like. So the problem is, in doing so much good for their community, they start to get in the way of the bad that's being done. They start to get in the way of the people who are trying to sell drugs. They start talking a little bit too loudly about the people that they think are corrupt and are behind the spreading of these drugs. And they start to get warned. The first of those warnings is a kid who is apparently overdosed all by himself in the locker rooms of the gym.
Okay, it's getting serious.
It's pretty serious.
It's pretty serious. It's pretty dark serious. So far.
It is quite dark, but we'll be playing some lovely music in the background to line things up a bit. No, and like the unit that they have is an incredibly beautiful thing, and there isn't darkness in her life. There's darkness around it, and you can't help but see it everywhere. But she is from such a strong place that can be consumed and dealt with in a normal fashion. It's not an oppressive place she lives in. It's a great place, man. She's doing good every single day. She's helping people.
Nice.
And with the support of two incredibly loving people who've taken her under her wing, man. So they start to get warnings beyond just a dead kid in the toilets. They get a couple of cops who start sniffing around, a couple of real scummy detectives. Polly and Peebles. He starts to, there we go.
There we go. First laugh of the film.
Yeah, there we go. Detective
Peebles.
Yeah. So they turn up, they start just insinuating that this is where the heroin's coming from, and they're the cause of all the problems and all of this kind of stuff, man. Aside from that, after the death of the child, the local Alderman Simcoe, comes in for a bit of publicity. He wants to turn this death to his favour so he can get another term in office.
And an alderman is?
An alderman
is he just an official, like a mayor?
Yeah, he's like a civic official that's voted in that like looks after the district, kind of a thing. I will do more research on aldermanning.
I've heard the phrase, I wasn't just quite sure. Okay.
Yeah. So elected officials. And he sees this as a very good opportunity to press some flesh. He knows Deke from way back in the day because they grew up together. And he goes along and he says, look, this is a tragic death. We want to stop, obviously, all of this, the horrific drug problems that are prevalent everywhere. Here's $2,000 donation to the gym. I've made a few of these in the past. And he basically uses the gym as the one thing that's going right in his district that he can feed off of and use as good publicity to continue his success in the role that he's in. But money's money. It's translated into good. So Deke is eternally grateful. Thanks him so much for turning the young man's death from something that was meaningless to something with meaning, where he can pass on this money to the rest of the boys at the gym. And as the alderman shakes his hand and accepts that great thanks, he says, you're quite all right. We give the dead the gifts we can.
Dun, dun, dun.
Exactly. And so this spirals Alfarida obviously completely out of whack, man. She hasn't got a clue what's going on. She's straight back in the cupboard, terrified. She can't move. No one notices. There's lots of press around, man, but that is something she can't ignore. She can't ignore the fact that Deke and him go way back. What does he know about her mother? What does Deke know about her mother that he is not telling her? And so she starts to dig. She starts to push. She finds out that Deke and him worked together, and not in a good way back in the day. That they were both involved in a lot of very bad things. And Simcoe, instead of moving away from the life, wanted to escalate till he got the money and power and status to be able to do all of the bad things while pretending that he's doing all of the good things at the same time.
Gotcha.
And Deke got out. And his last job that made him go out was when he had to go and help Simcoe get rid of Alfarida's mother. Right. And from then, he has had her underneath his wing, and he has loved her so fiercely to try and make up for how incredibly awful he feels for what he did back then and the man he was that he has tried every day since then to reform. And so they decide Freddie, his son, Freddie and his son Jackie, and Deke decide that they really need to push back, and they need to push back hard, and they need to get rid of these two policemen who are sniffing around all the time and try and get some kind of evidence to put Alderman Simcoe behind bars if they can, or if they can't, then they will have to fix it the old way, and they'll have to take it away from the official means, and they'll have to do it themselves. And therein becomes a more action-packed.
Right.
Because when I first heard Alfarida, I thought Lucy. It's a Luc Besson film.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that mutated into something clearly quite dark. This is what happens if you just video game for 75 hours in a row, apparently, Graham. You slightly lose your mind and start telling yourself horrible stories about heroin.
Yeah. Or take heroin.
Use. Or maybe I did. I think I might still be on heroin telling you this story.
Boil the kettle without the lid on so you just see steaming vents in your bedroom.
Everywhere, man. Okay. That is what sets off the actions, which then lead those three using that incredibly strong community as well, because they got other people on their side, man. They decide to dethrone Simcoe and his awful, nefarious dealings for good.
Okay, so the streets rise up. Well, the neighborhood, they all rise up.
They rally the neighborhood around the gym, and those three people who have been such a wonderful, well, those two people, especially with Deke and Jackie, who have been a shining light in the community. And Deke has to truly put his past to sleep by finishing his dealings with Simcoe for good.
Right. Nice. And what happens to Alfarida in the end? Have we got that far?
She doesn't kill the Aldermen. She can't.
She has the chance to.
She absolutely does.
Right.
And she cannot do that. And nor can Deke let her do that, because he is her protector and he knows what he has done and how it has stained his life. And so Deke takes it upon himself to end the Aldermen, and he tells her to get the hell out there and leave with Jackie.
So their uprising, is it a violent uprising, like a full-on riot, or do they change things for the good in a peaceful way, non-violent way?
No, it's mainly going to be, I think they're going to outfox the two absolutely schlubby asshole detectives. They're his only link. Aldermen, they are they are the crux of the corruption within the force that Alderman is currently exploiting. There's plenty of other corruption all over the place.
They're like his bloodhounds as well. He'll send them out to...
Absolutely, man. And they have been intimidating the community. They have been covering up any kind of the nefarious dealings that he has been doing, and they are faces around the community that are despised anyway. And it doesn't take much for that community to come up against those guys, frame them as and where they can. I think it's going to be a frame job because they're going to get sent to prison. That is how I would like those two characters to end.
So you'd want... There's kind of two ways to kind of... Well, there's many ways you could end it, but in the traditional vein from the 1930s onwards, when they'd make gangster films, the gangster generally that has polluted the district or the community that he's in with whatever nefarious dealings he's done is punished by either being killed or whatever, but it's done in public. So it's
like Training Day.
Yes, Training Day is a great example. Little Caesar, they shot in the street. And, so it's a kind of a public execution, really. So morally, the film studios put everything back together. There's that. Or there's the public humiliation of the bad guy via, in a Running Man kind of way, press conference, when the real memo when a few days beforehand he said, I'm behind it all, gets played over the speakers. And it's a similar kind of thing.
I absolutely was thinking about that as well. Like, as they bring him back to the gym because they know that he loves that place for publicity, so they can get him there pretty regularly, man. So I was thinking that they could get him back for that, but then I don't want a press conference and the big reveal, the Shane Black kind of ending, man. Because that'd be, I think that was in The Nice Guys or something like that. It's very similar. Play the video cassette. You got to press play. They're starring. They're going live. That kind of a thing. But I think that he could organise a boxing match and bring the Alderman in again for publicity, but just the Alderman goes because it looks good. It's like a black tie event kind of a thing, and that is where the confrontation happens between everyone and the Alderman. And whilst they are doing this, other parts of the community have framed the policeman, and they are getting sent down at the same time. So he hasn't got any backup to save him, kind of a thing. Nice.
I'm loving it. I love the setting. I love the corruption. I love the police angle. Boxing's always good. I like it. I'm in. Green light.
It's not bad. I think it depends on what director we get for it, where it goes, and how big silly action it gets. Because I was thinking we could play this as a rip-roaring rampage of revenge kind of a thing where she discovers all of this and bang, she's had loads of boxing training. She knows how to look after herself.
Yeah, yeah.
She's got like some people who have been involved with Black Panthers, the Vietnam War or whatever. There's people she can draw from to wreak her revenge if she desires. So I was like, well, we could maybe go down that way. We could have a big old, as I say, Luc Besson-y kind of, it's just a stupid action film. We got a pounding 70s soul flipping, you know, this amazing soundtrack, all these beautiful artists, that kind of a thing, man. But I don't think I want to, as I started putting the ideas down, I was like, it gets a bit grittier. It starts to go a bit more Widows, Steve McQueen kind of a...
As you were talking, I was thinking Steve McQueen. Or Shaka King, who did Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a fantastic movie.
Yeah. Who was the director of, I should know, it's not Ruben Fleischer, I don't think, man. The
Gangster Squad.
No, he did. No. So it isn't. Yeah, because he was bloody Zombieland and whatnot. But he was the guy who did Atomic Blonde.
David Leitch. There you are. He's the one who did some of the terrible Terminator films, or one of them. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
I think he may have done Bullet Train as well. I'm not sure. Anyway, he does like poop. I quite liked Atomic Blonde though. I thought that was pretty good. It captured its time period and some badassery really well, and I thought it let Charlize Theron shine. Not that she needs much of an excuse to, but like it was amazing to see the physicality and the work that was occurring and all of the choreography and stuff. I was really impressed by. But I do not want this film to have like bags of heroin being thrown around and exploding in big puffs as people are getting kicked and things like that, because that's where it's going to go if it gets into one of those hands. So as I started off and I was like, which is why that was somewhat patchy, man, because I was like, right, I want this big rip-roaring, silly, sexy 70s like action romp kind of a thing, and then I was like, you can't. It started to not feel right. It
seems quite gritty.
Yeah, I want to pitch it more toward like The Drop or something like that, where you're just looking at people trying to live in a community and get on, and not.
I watched The Drop the other day. That film is so rewatchable. I must have seen it like 10 times over the years. It's so rewatchable, and it's quite short. If I were producing, I would.
You got any cast ideas?
I would put Steve McQueen to direct.
Okay, I dude, as I said, that was the name that came through. I would also.
How old is the Aldermen?
Well, I was thinking that the Alderman would be around Jeffrey Wright's age, but we need a foil for him who is as sweet as Jeffrey Wright can be, deadly in Deke. And I wasn't quite sure where to go with that yet, other than. Which would kind of work for, like, you're going to say Forrest Whitaker, aren't you?
I am going to say Forrest Whitaker. I am.
Never have I so quickly identified an actor from...
It's those puppy dog eyes.
Yep.
He does scary and authoritative very well.
Well, when him and the Aldermen are like heading, like, because at some point, I think when Alfarida goes to clean up the locker room, she'll go back in the dead of night 'cause she can't sleep because she's literally just heard the words of her mother's killer out of this guy's mouth. So she's like, I've got to go and make the place nice for the boys tomorrow, so they don't have to come back to memories of their dead mate, you know. And she's in there, and that's where she will overhear like this very heated argument coming from Deke's office, and that's where they're going to be going at loggerheads. And like Forrest Whitaker could loggerhead the devil with Jeffrey Wright, man. I think that would be fantastic.
But he could also really sell the. I didn't mean to do it. I've been racked with guilt for this, and I just wanted to look after you because I didn't know what I did.
Love you,
that sincerity and that.
Yeah. And you've become my life. Like you've made my life what it is. Like I'm entangled with you forever. I love you forever, kind of a thing. He would absolutely sell. Okay, bang,
well, nice. And well, enough about the men. Alfarida herself. Who you got?
I was going to go Letitia Wright, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
how old
Dominique
is the character
Thorne.
again?
Well, it's like 22. I was like, I don't. It's a little.
That's quite young, isn't it?
But Dominique Thorne could do it. I think she'd do a very good job.
Ooh.
Who you got?
Lyanna Lynch.
There we go. Right age.
She's right age. Have you seen The Woman King?
Yes, I say I watched that this week.
You did?
In fact.
Yes. I beg your pardon. I do listen to most of the time.
Fantastic shout.
She's a really good actor, obviously, but she She's got
metal
future,
as well.
She's got metal. She's got future Charlize Theron style stunt woman person doing all her own crazy shit.
100%. That's a great shout, man. Absolutely.
And she is a live forever movie star, if that is such a thing.
Yep. Yeah. She had a bag of charisma, man. Like the watchability or whatever, man. Absolutely. I was thinking for the police, maybe Miles Teller as Peebles.
Okay.
Mustachioed, a complete slob, a filthy, horrible man.
He can do slimy really well. He's a very good actor, but he can also do kind of douchey and slimy.
Yep.
I could see him in that role.
That's it. That's what I thought. I could just see like a bit like Aaron Taylor Johnson in Help Me Out with the movie that was really good by Tom Ford. Nocturnal Animals.
Oh, yes.
Aaron Taylor Johnson like just shone the heck out of that.
So they're late 30s, mid 30s, the Peebles and the other dude.
Yeah. Like he's got young enough that they're still, Peebles and Polly, man. And Polly, I was thinking maybe John David Washington, but he'd have to play like the quiet, brutal, psychopathic part because I haven't yet found a lot of exuberance and energy in any of his performances, but he's got quite a lot of
got presence.
Impact. Yeah, absolutely. So I think he could be used very well as a nutbag.
Yeah.
I haven't quite clicked with all of his roles yet.
Actually, Spike Lee would be a very good shout for director as well.
I was kind of dabbling with Spike Lee as well because he would nail the atmosphere 100%.
The period detail. Summer of Sam is so good. The period detail in Summer of Sam is spot. I love movies where you can feel the temperature, whether it be hot or cold. So Hateful Eight, you can feel how cold it is in that room. Or Wake in Fright, a movie that we both love, that Australian horror movie.
So hot.
It's so hot in temperature-wise rather than sexy-wise.
Yeah.
Oh, it's also a little bit sexy. But you can just, the sweat and the smell, right when he goes into the bar, the first bar he goes into, it's just full of really sweaty dudes. And
there's stains in all of the
stains.
Every armpit.
And he can just, the first thing the first thing I think of in that scene or scenes like that is like, God, I wonder what the toilet's like. Because like the mise en scène is so powerful and the temperature and
well, yeah, that's how real the world they create is, that you are thinking about the toilets, man. Yeah,
yes.
if I was a set designer, that is the best. I was going to say, that's kind of, I'm just always on quite high toilet alert.
Com 3 or whatever it is. But yeah, the Summer of Sam, Spike Lee he creates that summer in New York, summer of 76, whatever it is, where it was just, that was the summer in England, or whenever it was 77, I don't know, when it was so hot and disgusting. He'd be really good.
Well, we would have like an on-set sprayer who would have a mist bottle that would go around and make sure everyone in the cast was appropriately misted, much like Dwayne The Rock Johnson used to be in the action movies, kind of a thing, just slick with his own
I watched a Dwayne The Rock Johnson action movie today.
What did you watch?
The Rundown. Welcome to the Jungle.
Welcome to the Jungle.
Yeah.
I love that film.
It's quite good.
I genuinely, I haven't seen it for quite a while, but I flipping adored that movie. Not just because Arnie turns up and hands the baton within the first 5 minutes with his have fun in the club, man.
Yeah.
It's great, man.
It's good. There's a bit where he punches through a timber stanchion holding up a watchtower. He just dives, punches right through. Amazing.
And unless I'm mistaken, there is also a point where he's holding 2 pump action shotguns in his hands and he spins them around under his armpit, cocks them with his massive armpit, spins them back round and uses them again, which is one of the best things I've ever seen done with 2 pump action shotguns in all my life.
That is true. That happens and it is glorious.
And a bonus Walken.
And so good. Bonus Walkland. Anyway, so that was Alfarida and not Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I really liked it. I think that's got loads of potential.
It's got some legs, man. Not quite there.
I could see it going the Atomic Blonde, like trashy action route, but I can also definitely the way we want it to go in the Spike Lee, Steve McQueen, Shaka King kind of gritty and realistic.
Just a bit more meaningful, man. A bit more heart. Yeah.
And possibly talking about wider subjects. Like this is a small story, a fictional story in a world that existed. Yep. These are the problems that were faced.
And probably
still are
for a lot of people. Yeah,
that's why I like your film.
Okay, thank you, man.
Alfarida.
Don't get me wrong, I'll sell it to anyone. So if they want to make an atomic blonde, crack on.
Crack on. Exactly.
Defile my idea. My little nubbins of idea. You just put your big old producer boot all over them and give me like 100 grand. It's fine.
So you just like do a filter and copy replace in the script, and when it says stairs for punch. Punch, stares him in the eyes, punches him in the eyes.
Right in the eyes, both of them.
Stares into the distance, punches the distance. Easy. So you just have two versions and you can just send them out to everyone.
Okay, well, right, we'll do that and see how it goes, mate. Right, so yeah, I think that sort of draws a line under. We've done a bit of casting, which is grand. We've pitched pretty much the whole thing, man. So I think we can draw a line under young Alfarida.
Right, well, thank you very much for that amazing pitch for Alfarida. I liked it a lot. I mean, nice bit of development going on.
Thank you for your input. I really appreciate that because that was much needed, sir.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm hoping that your input is going to be coming my way shortly. Vigorous input, please, because the pitch is, I've got the broad strokes, I would say, but there's going to be some gaps to fill in because it's quite
needs to do a little
plot heavy.
Flourishes. Okay,
little flourishes here. Okay. And nicely, it's in a completely different tone to yours.
Good. So we're not starting with a heroin overdose or a murder of a mother.
This is a bit different. I'm not going to give you the genre. I think the genre will kind of speak for itself as we move on. Okay. So this is my Racehorse Movies pitch for the horse and film called Maid To Shine. Maid, M-A-I-D. Maid To Shine. Okay. Maiden Air is a family-run aviation design and manufacture outfit in Ohio, 1920s. Marion Maid is a fearless 9-year-old dreamer, and she's got this one big dream, to fly like her big sister, but to fly further and faster. And while the family are happy to fly at local air shows and at county air races, Marion Maid wants to create her own machines and cross oceans. And on one fateful night, she sneaks out of the house and to the barn, which is kind of basically the aeroplane hangar because it's a small family outfit.
Excellent. Yeah, proper big red barn.
Yeah, exactly.
Giant doors on. Sort of something tacked on the roof to keep it from leaking in the winter. Man.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And she sneaks out to the barn in the dead of night and she climbs up onto the roof and she's constructed this sort of aeroplane kind of go-kart strap-on thing because she wants to fly as her first invention, right? So she jumps from the barn and, of course, she plummets to the ground and she busts up her legs, man. She's knackered. And so she's unable to walk properly without 1920s-style leg braces, you know. So it's awkward, it's painful, and she still dreams of flying, and she helps designing and being a mechanic where she can around the family business. You know, dad and sister and mum help training her up. She's just mucking in because that's the family dream, being aviators. And her legs are shattered, and the reality of her career is in smoke, but her spirit is unbroken. And then at age 13, she designs leg braces in order to help get her into her father's crop duster. And warmed by her spirit, father and the sister teach her to fly the crop duster with the aid of these special braces. And in the air, Marion Maid is an absolute natural. She feels alive, she's at home, and she's even more daring than her sister, which really spooks the family, but they love it. They can finally see that she's destined to be in the air. And then when she's 15, her family and herself witness the tragic death of the older sister who is involved in a horrific and spectacular mid-air crash while attempting an incredibly difficult maneuver.
Is she like some big air show, something like that they've all gone to support her?
Yeah, it's not an amazingly big one. It's kind of like if you think like regional NASCAR. In the 20s, they did lots of air races, especially around Ohio, apparently. So it's kind of like a derby, like a demolition derby, whatever, but air races. So it's in a county fair kind of thing.
Yep.
And devastated, the family pack up the business. You know, everything's just gone. Like the heart of the family's been ripped out. And Marion gets odd jobs at garages in the local area. The family are a bit local celebrities in the little village, Main Street kind of thing. And she gets by and she helps out and she's just really good mechanic. So she's just trusted. And at night in her bedroom, she still designs her aeroplanes. And then one day at the garage, a young man in a posh suit drops off his car for repair. He's traveling the air race circuit, looking for inspiration for new designs and new talent. He's kind of a bit of a scout. And sensing her chance, Marion works on his car all night. And in the morning, the man comes to collect it. He notices that it's a bit different. And Marion urges him just to take it for a test drive, which he does. And it's great, but it's not amazing. So Marion offers to drive it herself and him in the passenger seat. And she absolutely rags that car around and just absolutely belts it. And he is just amazed. So he takes it to breakfast. And Marion tells her of her history and dreams and shows him some of her amateur designs in a little sketch. But she's quite naive and young, and she sees this guy in a suit, like a big chance, right?
And the way out of the big cities and out of the little town. Yep.
He's just blown away by it. He thanks her for the car and leaves. And Marion's got a bit kind of crestfallen. She thinks she's blown it. But the next day at the homestead, the man arrives and talks to the parents, telling them of Marion's skills as an engineer and how she can help him build really fast, beautiful planes to win things like the Pulitzer air race, which I believe is a real air race in the 1920s. And the father is just angry, and he's already, of course, seen his eldest daughter, beloved pilotist. You're not getting another plane, no chance. So he sends the man off in a rage, and Marion's furious, but she keeps it inside because she sees the pain in the father's eyes. So she kind of stows it. But then that night, because obviously she's very creative at night, she's lying in bed and she just makes a decision, and she sneaks out to the barn and she gets the crop duster air ready and just fires her up. And this is the emotional end of the act one, I guess. The father rushes out to see her taxiing off in the crop duster, and she just takes off and she flies, silhouetted by the great big
massive moon,
and she just flies off and she's run away. So she runs away to New York and she meets the company man, and he gets her the gig at the design company. Off to a good start, second act. But obviously on the first day, she's just reduced to that of a secretary on the first day, The guy thanks her for her designs, just gives her the brush off.
Yeah.
So now she's in the big city and she's just kind of been treated like everyone else. She's a young woman, so she's in the admin office. That's it,
Yeah, you're in the pit.
You're in the pit. So she faces, glass ceilings, and she's ridiculed, especially for her legs and stuff like that. Whereby in her hometown, she was accepted and everything was, fine, and people respected her for her talent and her drive. Here, she's just a faceless person who can barely type, and she's, how has she even got this job?
And not being recognised for any one of the talents that she's fostered over the last,
Exactly. So she's facing glass ceilings, and she's ridiculed, but she tries to get by in the big city and at work, and she doesn't give up. So she still designs at night in her small bedsit, and she's starting to work on what she thinks is her beautiful masterpiece. It's the most amazing aeroplane. It's her thing. And then at one night, she stays a little bit extra late, and she decides to sneak around into the hangars and take a look at what's being built. And they're beautiful machines, and she recognises some of her design elements have been incorporated into some of the machines. So obviously she gets quite fucking angry about this. But she's about to get really angry when she hears laughter from another hangar, some commotion going on. And then she goes to the next hangar along, and she finds a group of mechanics all laughing around, having a joke, and they're in and amongst some super old but modified stunt planes, like these junkyard planes that have just been disregarded. And she watches the mechanics open the hangar doors, steal the airplanes, and just fly them like maniacs around the airfield, just blowing off steam. And Marion goes back to her bedsit, and her mind is buzzing with what she's just witnessed. And then the next day, at night, she's already in that hangar waiting for them. And by way of introduction, she wagers them a case of whiskey that she definitely doesn't have or can't afford, that she can outfly any of them in a
She can
trial.
nick a case of whiskey from the uppers offices that she is secretary for, man. That's no problem at all. She can get hands as much whiskey as she needs for that. Yeah, she's got that. There's a nice little mini heist in the build up to her giving that tribute to those guys to get involved. Man.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. So that's a little bit of a mini heist to there. So she gets this case of whiskey, and then she bets them she can outfly them in any speed trial or in any slalom or stunt or whatever. And they laugh at her. But, they're game. They're nice guys. And they say, race on. So this is kind of the second act of action scene. And, of course, she just smokes all of them. And she's just incredible in the air. And they just can't believe it. They are blown away. And they instantly take her into their little cabal, their little group. And so nice little montage where every night she gets closer with them as they tinker with the aeroplanes and modify them, flying around, drinking, playing cards. She's accepted. They're not making any jibes about her legs, anything like that. They're just respecting her talent and how she's making these little stunt planes just go like the clappers. All right. So yeah, life is good. And so as that progresses, also she sees her designs again start to be kind of implemented in other airplanes, and she kind of brushes it off a little bit as a kind of.
Is she still supplying designs, or has she given him a set of designs, and he is just milking those puppies for as long as they'll last?
She turned up with a portfolio, wide-eyed out from country girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but it's only so those designs only last so long, and it isn't long before the designers of the airplanes can't deny that their plans have come from somewhere, because they can't improve on them. They can't do the next thing because they've run out of these new plans. And so their plans come from a source, which was, of course, the businessman who stole them, the junior exec who's in the company, the slimy junior exec who's trying to get his way up, right? And he's tasked by the higher ups, because he's seen as some sort of genius who does these plans because he's passed them off as himself, right?
Yeah.
He's tasked to come up with something magnificent, more faster, more beautiful, cheaper, efficient, blah, 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 just this most incredible that can be mass-produced. It's going to be the fastest, amazing single-seat plane the world has ever seen. We're going to win all the trophies, kid. We're going to get all the kudos, all the advertising. So the office man, of course, kind of a bit sheepishly, but charming because he's a sales dude. He wines and dines Marion Maid and asks her to work on the project. And asks her, have you got any ideas? And she says, yeah, do you know what? I've got the design. I have it. And he says, okay, well, how about, you get a little desk and you get this. And then she says, no, I'll do it. I'll do it for full control. I get to pick the team. I get unlimited budget. I get the hang. I get everything. If you give me that, I will give you the aeroplane. And he says, well, I've got no choice, really. So she assembles her merry men.
Crack crew.
Crack crew. And they just get about to work. They set about building these airplanes, designing it. They can't believe their luck. They're no longer working. They still work on their little junk planes at night, but they're no longer working on that's their fun hobby. They're not working on the normal stuff, right? The plane's unique and test flights are going really well. And it's a really kind of a propulsive, energetic bit. It's really kind of coming together, and the higher ups are getting more and more impressed. And then one day, Marion and her team are invited. There's an invitational to demonstrate their planes in an aerial display because they want to show all the maneuverability and functionality of these amazing machines.
And they've got all the future customers in to witness this.
Exactly.
It's a great sort of prototype reveal kind of a thing.
This is going to be it. This is going to put us on the map. And obviously the slimy businessman is cock a hoop, and he's got the new suits now, new cars. Everything's going great for everyone.
Yeah.
So the team, Marion Maid and her merry men, you can see where this is going. They celebrate and they all get drunk, and then Marion passes out in a pile of parachutes in the hangar. She's just hammered. And then she wakes up in the morning and she hears the businessman talking with some shady people as they're walking around the airplanes. She kind of peers over through the pile of parachutes. And they're just basically, he's talking to generals, and they're talking about how these planes are actually going to be modified as warplanes and sold to any willing buyer. So this company is actually just getting, as wars kind of heating up in the 30s and stuff, this company is actively moving into the war profiteering game. They don't care. It's going to be super shady. Again, we'd have to do some historical plannings and how that works out. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. And so Marion summons her men to tell them the truth, and they're horrified. And they believe her, obviously. They're horrified. She steals a plan, and she shows them, look, there's a wing with some gun ports on it. And
and here's the bomb hatch that they're designing into the chassis.
Exactly.
That's not the right terminology for an airplane. Thank you, airframe. I knew you would know that after all your modelling.
Thank you. So obviously they're horrified, and they something must be done. We could destroy the planes. We could just burn the plans, destroy the planes, and end it right there. But they can't because of the love of the work that they've done.
Yeah.
And in a kind of the motif of the film, war can't destroy freedom, and it can't destroy art and aviation, especially the planes. Art is beautiful as freedom, as the sky.
Yeah.
But she calms down and says, don't worry. And of course she has a plan.
She always has a plan.
They get to work. So then you get the montage of the heist prep. Oh. So you see lots of things going on, but you don't quite know what it's kind of held back from us. You see,
but you know that they are doing something.
They know
you
they're
see
going to
them
do something.
Carrying out certain actions. There is excitement in the air for whatever it is that they are planning. Yeah,
exactly. And they're still going about. The plans have been delivered to them by Up and High, the modified version of the gun stuff. So they're still just going to build them.
And they have to, because they're being watched like hawks by all the superintendents.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the biggest thing that company has done. That all eyes are on them.
All eyes are on them. So Yeah, you have this montage of it all going wrong, and then the day of the demonstration, the air show arrives, and everyone's laid out outside. It's a beautiful day in upstate New York and whatever. And the idea is that the plane's going to take off. They're going to do some acrobatics, and then there's some barrage balloons floating there, and they're going to shoot them down, go through slalaloms to show like the maneuverability, the defense mechanisms, all this kind of stuff to make these airplanes so amazing. Okay, so they get up and they're flying around, and they're flying and seeing. They're doing all this stuff. Everything's going according perfectly to the general's plans.
Yeah.
Right, but of course they've got their own secret plans.
Yeah.
And while that's happening, we're cutting back to the hangar, and there's like a cleaner or something is going around, and they're in the back. She or he are in the back, and they find like 4 pilots tied up, or five pilots tied up, and gagged and whatever, like stuck. Stuck
Yeah, like literally back to back, like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade kind of a thing, man. Yes,
exactly. So the cleaner comes out and raises the alarm. And at that point, all the generals start panicking. And from the airplanes, they can see that they've kind of been rumbled, but it's part of the plan. And so they got to get these airplanes back. So they scramble some other airplanes to intercept. And this is where Marion's plan kicks in. So they break formation, and then they just bolt for the horizon, right?
And they've been practicing for this every night when they have been having fun with the other planes that they have been using. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So the other planes come up, and then some get scrambled from nearby airfields because it's a really big complex. And so what happens now is that as they're flying this dogfights, there's a big aerial battle as they're trying to shoot down these 5 planes or 6 planes or however many there are.
Because they might be, they could be the enemy, they could be anyone, they're stealing it. Like it's easy, that's an easy sell for the people in charge. Get those planes out of the air.
Get those planes out of the air. So everything's getting a bit hairy. So Marion activates like phase 2 of the plan, which is to get out the dogfight and just head towards the city, thinking that we can.
They won't shoot us down over the city. They won't shoot us down over the city. Mm-hmm. They start to, but what we'll have here is a big action sequence where we get low to the ground of New York City. So loads of like these kind of Spitfire type planes skimming around the avenues and the skyscrapers. Hudson River and whatnot.
The Hudson River is going really low, doing incredible maneuvers underneath bridges. And just being absolutely...
were skyscrapers being assembled at that time? Can they go past like some workmen sat on the iron girders at the time and things like that, blowing the sandwiches out of their hands or whatever?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, cool.
All that stuff. And obviously at one point when it looks like Marion Maid is about to kind of meet her end or crash or something, she pulls off the exact same maneuver that her sister couldn't. And like she manages to escape that way. That's probably the end of that action sequence where like she breaks through. So no one gets shot down. They break away, but they're flying. You think they've got away with it, but what they do is they all split up. All the airplanes go its separate ways, and then we have this kind of montage at the end of the 3rd act, I guess, where the airplanes, the pilots bail out over fields and stuff, so the planes crash. So they're scuttled. They're just useless. But they think that Marion Maid is going to scuttle her plane as well. But she doesn't. She just carries on, just leaves them, just goes. Whoosh. And then we get a kind of a montage of newspaper offices and places like that opening up where the pilots walk in and they've nicked, not only have they nicked the plans for the airplane, they've nicked the business dealings, they've nicked all the things that expose the company.
The company and its absolute filth that it will sell to anyone, no matter, as long as it's the highest price. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And so, so that all happens. That all gets taken down. And then back at the farm, the dad comes out. He's like sitting on the, rocking chair or something, having some sarsaparilla or whatever. I don't know what they're drinking at Ohio. And he hears the engine of an aeroplane approaches and looks round, and he sees a single airplane land at the farm. And of course, it's Marion Maid. She's come home with this beautiful airplane that she designed, and everyone's so happy. And that's kind of like, not necessarily the end of the film, but it's the end of the 3rd act. It's like the bad guys have been taken down. She's home with the airplane. But of course, she can't steal an airplane. So the last remaining bits are some investigators come from the company or the FBI or the government looking for her. And they come to the house and she's not there. And they're looking around, well, what about that goddamn airplane, huh? They're not from the press. That sounded like they were from the press. I want what you say. I want a copy, you see.
Well, listen up, see, Sonny. Yeah. I got a scoop, goddammit. There's a plane with 2 wings. I've never seen such a thing in all my days.
So they come and they talk, where is she? I don't know. We haven't seen her. We heard the plane crash. It never came back. I don't know. She's gone. And so the guys, they look around. They can't find her. They look at them. She's gone. So they leave. But what they didn't notice when they were sitting around is the very shiny dining table that they're sitting at, the seats that they're on. Like the plane has been repurposed into this kind of, it's just been taken apart and it's put around the house in bits.
Yeah.
They're inside an air kit. And then we'd probably get the denouement later on, maybe cut to an older lady, like 50s or 60s, and she's just at an airfield. And she's walking out with her leg braces and she just gets into a plane, a really little old plane, and just takes off to have a jolly little ride and flying. And of course, she flies not against the moon, but against the sun. So that is my pitch for Maid to Shine.
Can she also have a part of the plane in the plane she then goes on to fly? Like something retained the seat or something like that, something that becomes important in the building of the plane. Can we keep that and have that displayed in the plane at the end?
Has a special lever that can do a maneuver or something like that, or a special thing.
A little thing that is entirely hers that she had to keep because she needs some of that plane to still be flying. Like that, it's so important to her, and that's why she keeps revisiting it and going to the air shows and stuff, and forges probably, I hope, a career that will give her, the pleasure until she becomes that older lady that we see again flying into the sun, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be really nice.
Okay, that sounds, mate. How you brought that out from an unintentional bastardly horse with a pun in its name.
Puns are difficult, man.
But you've made it. It's hard. It's proper story. My goodness me, man. That's beautiful. I thought it was. Well, you'll find out what I thought when we get to the pictures and stuff, man. That's beautiful. So we are looking at like a 1920s setting.
Yeah.
Have we got anyone?
Or maybe 30. Or 30s.
It's going to span a few because we're going to start with her as a kid. We're going to sort of go through until she is what kind of age when she gets to New York? Are we thinking where we pitch in for
young 20s, I reckon.
Sugar. Well, that's knocked a lot of actresses out of my way.
Yes,
I'm sure you've got this
dream
covered,
casting,
man. Okay,
I've got my dream cast.
Well,
busting for
Marion. Who have you got in? Who is in for Marion?
For me, I'd want someone who is fierce, funny, and you can believe that they're in that kind of thing. I'm going to go with Emma Stone.
Nice. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Because I think the tone of it is kind of, I was going for like Rocketeer kind of comic book fantasy.
Well, I did put, and this is not an insult to your idea, but a compliment to the films that this director has made in the past, maybe not recently. But I was getting a bit of Zemeckis, man. And I mean that as a compliment. And his ability to capture certain time periods as well as work with effects, which you would need both of those of for a movie like this. But
that is true.
I don't want him bringing any of that like Polar Express energy or The Walk energy or anything like that kind of a thing, man. I would like him to step away from the artificially created world he's playing in so much at the minute and make something a bit more grounded.
Director... Yeah, Zemeckis would be a really good idea.
Could we? Well,
I'm always going to go Joe Johnston because he did The Rocketeer, and it's amazing for me.
Brad Bird, he would do well with all of the action scenes because he is extremely good at propulsive action that means a lot, man. And I think he would be able to smash air fights, dog fights, as well as all of the stunt training they're doing.
Yeah,
and he would. Yeah, he would give wonder. Gravity, wonder, and meaning to all of the things that were happening, man. Dude, for the older sister, who I love, by the way, and I know she's going to be the coolest sister in the world, and it's going to be horrible when she passes on, by the way.
Yes.
Could we pick maybe Chastain for that?
Marion Maid is 15 when her older sister dies. So I'm imagining the older sister to be...
how old is the older sister? Because I was thinking
not that old.
Like John Cusack in Stand By Me, age difference, like where he's like, hey, they're a kid, and he's like a grown-up, but not a grown-up kind of
how
thing.
old is he supposed to be? He's supposed to be like 17 or 18.
Is he meant to be 17? He looks so old.
I know.
Well, he doesn't look so old. He just looks so...
He's a senior. I'm sure he's a senior.
Is he a senior in it, man? Okay.
Or he's at college or something.
Oh yeah, because he's going to college. That's why he gives him the hat. Anyway, I digress, man. Okay, so we're looking at around 20. We're looking at cool older 20s, man. That's hard because I was instantly Chastain because of her amazing hair. It would look great in a plane. She looks so good, in that style. She's got the look for it as well as being amazing.
Like an Amelia Earhart should look good in
that's
that kind of thing.
That's probably it may be too close, man. But we need to pitch a bit younger, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not very good with my young actors. I don't know. That's why I thought I'm not particularly tight to Emma Stone for the role, but I think that she has the pluck and verve to do all that.
What about Winstead?
Yes.
Or for the older sister, one of the two, because Winstead is just incredibly cool.
Yes, she is super cool.
And so good at imparting coolness on screen and in a wonderfully accessible way to people.
Winstead, older sister. Okay, done.
Okay.
Slimy businessman.
Yeah,
I have someone for that. Nicholas Hoult.
Oh, he's so slimy. Yes, I'm so sorry. Like, not in a bad way.
He's beautiful.
Yeah.
He's such a funny actor. He's a really serious actor, but he can do slimy and creepy
and icy. He's very
icy.
On a dime, he can switch to being just cruel. Amazing. I was looking at is it Jack Rayner from Sing Street? He's good as a 20s looking kind of slime ball. He's got the kind of hair and chin for it, if you know what I mean, man. By the way, what is his comeuppance? Do we get to see the repercussions of her freedom writ large upon this bastard?
Yeah, you'll get that
ideas,
montage
man.
of like the G-men storming into the hangars and taking up papers.
Yeah, so after the newspaper expose when they've all disappeared. Okay, good.
Yeah. So like in the end of, or towards the end of Wolf on Wall Street, where they bust in and they drag people out, kicking and screaming and stuff like that. You'd get that. And then there'd be lots of little side characters here and there, some that kind of get away. The good guys get away, obviously. It's a very clean cut good guys, bad guys kind of movie.
100%. You know? But like you're dealing with a company that are making war machines, man. So it should be, goddamn it.
Yeah. But it's got to be, I would go with a tone similar to Rocketeer or Captain America: The First Avenger, whereby the designs of these machines are slightly fantastical, just slightly, so that what I believe that might do with the tone of the film is justify the fact that the heroes are quite naive. How could they not think that an aviation company is making weapons of war, you know?
Yeah. For the dad, have you got any castings? I was thinking maybe John Goodman.
Yeah.
He's
quite old.
Farm. Maybe his granddad, isn't he?
You maybe have to go through a couple, or you can age them up, I guess, a couple of different actors, because there's the young dad who teaches her to be a mechanic, Carl Chandler.
Stop pressing my Chandler button, man. Honestly, goodness me. I'm
play your Chandler button like a pinball machine.
All I'm saying is I'm a race car and I'm in the red, man.
Only race car. The dad. Carl,
I just want him to cuddle me like I want Gregory Peck to cuddle me, all right? I don't want to necessarily have sex with him. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not saying that's not on the cards, man. I just want
nice
the tenderness and like security of a man's arms. Sorry, carry on with your casting.
So, what about John Hamm as the dad? He's quite tender.
He is very sweet. He's very of the period looking.
And he does very good dishevelled drunk as well, as what we know.
Yes, he does, man. And I'm thinking of his chops with a little dusting of stubble upon them, all salt and pepper and whatnot. And yes, he does look like a dad farmer.
Yes, absolutely. Going back to Marion Maid, I can tell you're not 100% sold on Emma Stone.
I think she's just a little bit, she's not too old. I don't mean to say that, but I think she's more the older sister. I think that's where she's going to fall, man. Because she's such a light that you need the older sisters to be something that big and beautiful and lovely, like a Chastain, like a Stone.
Yeah.
That is the thing that should focus.
The great hope of the family.
Beautiful young maid's attention and her families for the entire movie, man. So I think they are appropriate for someone that big.
We need that, I hate the phrase, but we need that leading lady quality. Haley Steinfeld?
Yes. Maybe
if Winstead is the older sister,
then let's get
Haley Steinfeld as
in. I think that might be it, man.
But Zemeckis directing it. It's got Brad Bird. Brad Bird, I prefer.
I like Brad Bird because he'll be fun He's great with family, dynamics. Absolutely, he's just so good with action scenes, man. Every time they go into a plane, there would be an extraordinarily exciting happening after that fact, man.
I want fun, Incredibles, Rocketeer, Captain America: The First Avenger style adventure, and also just because it's me and I want it in films, just highlighting the beauty of aviation.
Yeah. Well, dude,
the romanticism of it,
like in Dunkirk, man, like the part in Dunkirk with Tom Hardy in the plane. Like, speaking of things that make me cry in cinema, that was one thing that I was just like, oh, I'm crying. That's strange that I'm crying over a montage of a Spitfire. Yeah, I was like, oh, my heart is feeling a thing. What is this newfound
and I
pain?
can't turn on my phone to Google doctor this. I can't diagnose in the middle of the movie.
I'm going to hope that the thing coming out of my eyes is poison, and if I let enough of it out, I will be cured.
Did I sit on any snakes on the bus?
Yeah. Was it an Austrian boom slang? Have I encountered one of those recently? But yeah, no, dude. Like, to capture some of that, the freedom and it's I think it was the freedom of those scenes that made me want to cry or something. It was just, or the majesty or something, man. So you want somebody who can bring some of that to it, as well as the fun and a few gags and sandwiches falling off of construction girders and whatnot, man. So I'm Brad Bird or Johnson. That sounds fantastic, and we got a green light, man.
Wicked. Brad Bird's the one for me.
All right, we'll take him.
Done. Wicked. Well done. That was my, well done me. That was my
I like that your pitch ends with a congratulations to yourself. That's how you should pitch in real life, man. Because if you don't believe in yourself, who will? That's amazing.
Exactly. And I did cobble that together.
That was cracking, man. That was brilliant. That was really good. I really enjoyed hearing that, man.
All right, so I think now we've done our main pitches. Should we just move on to our... We've still got a little pitches to do.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that, man. Mine's quick.
Well, I'll do Alfarida. Mine's going to be really short because I don't really have one.
Yeah.
Okay, so my short pitch for Alfarida. When I first heard the name Alfarida,
because you said, when you said it, you were like, I've got this already, man. I think
I've got this already, yeah. I see like Alfarida, but with the, the Spanish question marks. The first one's inverted and the last one's normal. Like Alfarida, like Oliver, but in Spain. Like a revolutionary. Alfarida's a revolutionary. It's the Che Guevara story, but that set and that mixed in with like Kings of the Summer. Oh. So it's like kids, and there's bullies, like young kids, and there's one, like maybe a new kid comes to the school or something like that. And over the summer, they build the forts in the woods and they're all playing, but there's just like this oppressive regime where they are nicking conkers or whatever, or there's just not letting the other kids play or share with the bounteous woods that are in the woods, the damming the river.
Yeah.
Or these kids are building a dam and the other kids keep coming smashing it down. And the new kid comes along and he organizes everyone and they have their revolution. It doesn't necessarily have to end in violence, but it ends in something.
Victory.
It ends in victory, and it's a summer that changes everyone for the better. It's a family movie, but Alfarida is the revolutionary that brings them all together.
That's beautiful, man. Blooming egg. Right, okay. Amazing. That was, by the way, that was way too long.
Really low key. Really, really low key, but massive stakes.
Yeah, but really sweet. Like, and getting that.
Super sweet.
Okay, well, that is going to shed some awful light onto my pitch for yours, which is, I mean, when I say short, Graham, I mean, it's really, really short. Maid To Shine is the sequel to Made in Manhattan. In which Jennifer Lopez...
I almost went there as well.
Yeah. Jennifer Lopez joins a NASCAR crew and
wait. Back up. Row back to the boathouse. What happens at the end of Made in Manhattan?
Well, if I'd seen Made in Manhattan, no, but I'm assuming there is, because every bloody rom-com should have a NASCAR race at the end, man. If it's
and every NASCAR racer has their own maid, I assume.
Yeah, no, and
they're all based in Manhattan.
Well, she's. I haven't seen Maid in Manhattan, but I think that she is a maid who gets rescued by a lovely man who's probably Richard Gere or something like that. Is it Ray Fiennes? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, Ray Fiennes, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I've never seen Maid in Manhattan too, so I think the same thing happens. But I think what happens is, and my guess for Maid in Manhattan, if we're doing guessing the plot,
well, we have to.
She is definitely the maid in the hotel that he's staying at or whatever.
Yeah, and there's
but also I reckon there might be a Cinderella thing. Like she accidentally gets dressed up in a thing. Like, who's that girl she does something at a ball or something, MC ball, or he needs a date for the MC ball. Shakespearean, like, crossing, not Shakespearean in terms of depth and quality, but like mistaken identities.
Yeah.
And
Or like
crossed
Police
wires.
Academy in Mistaken Identities. Let's take
Yes,
it there.
yeah.
Man. Yeah.
Shakespeare or Police Academy, isn't this in between?
It's somewhere in there. And that's kind of where you want all your films to
yeah.
sit, isn't it?
That's what Maid in Manhattan is.
the
So Maid
sweet
in
spot.
Manhattan, Maid to Shine is Maid in Manhattan too. She's a NASCAR driver.
No, she works for a NASCAR crew, and like
as the maid.
as general, no, just as like general maintenance, making things shiny. She's like, I don't know, polishes cars.
The cars, they go fast. Yeah, they're fast. The drive is pretty good, but
It's
I'll
how
tell you
shiny.
what,
You need
look how
them.
shiny.
You need them shiny for the air resistance to flow
Airflow,
off of
right.
it, man. I've read so much on this. That's why my first pitch was so patchy. I was too busy reading up on the aeronomics of cars.
Amazing.
Yes. So we meet her dumped by Ray Fiennes, who I've just learned is in Made in Manhattan, and she has to rebuild herself. The NASCAR and her life, whilst also falling in love with the top driver, who takes her on to better things.
But better things than Ray Fiennes could have done. I mean, a NASCAR
Ray
driver.
Fiennes ditched her, man, so she had to go to NASCAR.
Right,
That's
yeah,
where you
sure.
go, man. Like that's where all hearts go to heal. I think is
Yeah,
the
I guess.
official NASCAR crest.
They go to the Indianapolis Raceway, and that's where they find
and they
their
come
true
out
selves.
whole again, man. Yeah, so
Amazing.
Yes, that was.
It's difficult to come up with a movie that's based on a pun, isn't it? I'm glad for the challenge.
Well, you nailed it, man. I literally saw Maid and went, oh, there's another film that has a pun with Maid in. I will sequelize that. That's some of the inside baseball, behind the scenes, how Luke's
Behind the
mind
scenes.
works there for you guys. a special drop of content there.
Oh, dear me. Well, that was fantastic. Do you reckon we should choose some horses for next
I was
week?
going to say, I think that is the natural next step, man. That sounds beautiful.
Wowzers. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for your amazing pitch on Alfarida.
Thank you.
And your short pitch for Maid to Shine, which was actually better than my pitch by quite a long way. And so I guess it's time to pick horses for next time, right? All right, giddy up. We are going to go to Newcastle this time, and we're going to go to I think it's just, you can tell that we really are into our nags, aren't we? We're going to go to the 7 a.m. Newcastle something. Doesn't even say it's just 7 a.m. Newcastle. Fair enough. All right,
It's a horse race, isn't it?
It's just a horse race, yeah. Doesn't even say how many runners. Right, anyway, let's get on with it. 7 a.m. Newcastle, 23rd of Feb.
You've got about 10 runners, I think.
Yeah, okay, there's 10 runners. You can throw me one and I'll throw you one. What are you thinking? What are you liking?
I'm liking a few of these. They're pretty groovy, actually.
Yeah, they're quite good, actually.
Yeah, not too bad at all.
I've got one that I really want, and I also really want to give it to you as well, because there's only one thing you could do with it. There's many things you could do, but there's only one thing that's right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to. Sorry, may I go? Am I going first?
Please.
Yeah. Okay.
Please do.
May I give you, Graham, Dark Side Thunder?
Nice. You certainly can. That wasn't the one I was going to hope that I got, so I get the chance to give you the one that I hope that you
Sugar.
get.
Okay.
And there's only
Well, you don't have to hope that I'll get it. I will get it if you give it to me.
you will get it, yes, and you will also have one option that I will accept. There's only one thing to do.
Okay. Sugar.
Right, your horse is called One Heart. Heart spelled H-A-R-T. Dark Side Thunder and One Heart.
Okay. Okay. Right. We're locked in. No worries. Let's do this, man.
Okay. Amazing. Well, that has been fantastic. That's been great fun. I really enjoyed chatting to you, as I always do. And I really
Lovely to
enjoyed.
speak, man. Take care of yourself for the next week until we do this again.
I will do.
Let our brains ferment and come up with something for the next round.
We will do. It's going to be amazing. Next week, or the next time we release, Dark Side Thunder and One Heart.
H-A-R-T.
H-A-R-T. So thank you so much to you, Luke. And thank you very much for everyone listening. I am going to go cook some dinner.
I think I'll join you on that, man. Not literally, sadly.
Sadly, we are remote, which is a shame. But enjoy your weeks, your days, your hours, your minutes with your friends, your families, your loved ones, and strangers in the street. Well, there we have it. Another episode of Racehorse Movies is over. We both hope you had as much fun listening as we did coming up with these films and recording our pitches. If you enjoyed this, please share it around with your friends and loved ones. And if it wasn't your thing, I don't know, maybe share it with someone you miffed with. Who knows? If it's not for them either, maybe you two can build some bridges over that connection. But if you did like picking up what we put down and you fancy checking out some more content from us, then head over to TheNeverPress.com to take a gander at our novels, poetry and other bits and bobs. Anyway, that's about enough from us. Hope to have you back next time for some friendly chat and barely thought through pitches at Racehorse Movies. Ta-ta!